Foraging is the word that's used to describe gathering wild food. It sort of suggests that you pick a little bit here and a little bit there, and that's what we do with the seaweed. And there would have been a long tradition along this coast in County Waterford of eating seaweeds like dillisk and carrageen mass and slough corn. And that kind of went out of fashion really in the 80s. A lot of the knowledge was lost, but my stepfather had both foraged seaweed, and it was a good introduction really to me to come back into foraging again as an adult. There's something really satisfying about picking your own food from the wild. There's a very close connection between where the food grows and you know, you're picking it, you're bringing it home and you're using it. It's the shortest route, I suppose, and it's so satisfying to do that. You're always learning, you're always finding, you know, something new that you didn't before, and what I find particularly nice is there's a calm that comes over you when you're down on the beach. It's actually easy to kind of get a bit lost in time down there. I grew up just minutes away from here, and sometimes I'll meet locals who will have a memory of seaweed. You'll hear their stories. You know, those are stories that have been forgotten really, and I think it's interesting to keep all of that alive as well. Yeah, it's home, I suppose, really, isn't it? I think food and sustenance is at the core of our existence, and knowing where to find that food and so on, and how to prepare it, and then sharing it with other people. I think that's a very human thing to do, and I think the fact that we do it here in this part of the world, and that our Celtic cousins in neighbouring countries like Wales, that they do the same thing, it definitely gives a sense of connection. In the modern era, with all the emphasis on nation states and all those things, we become very conscious of a different kind of an identity. Behind all that, there's basic things, there's basic human needs, and food is definitely one of those. And finding the connections, it's a very interesting journey, and to go from one country to another and realise that, you know, people travelled between those two places many thousands of years ago and brought that knowledge with them, or those skills with them, and that they've managed to survive down to now. I think there's a definite feeling of connectedness in that, despite whatever might have happened in the meantime.